Hi guys, and welcome to this week's Wake Up CX. This week we're looking at surveys, and it's how can we get actionable insights from our customer base through the survey. So there's a number of things that we need to look at when it comes to generating a survey and things that we need to avoid. And then the same sort of thing we need to do afterwards when we're analysing those results. So I'm going to break it down into the two topics, and as a result this video might be a little bit longer, so I do apologise. But hopefully you'll get some useful and actionable insights off the back of this video. So firstly, when you're creating your survey to begin with, you need to know what your objective is, what you're trying to get on the back of these survey results. Try to be specific on what you're looking for. So don't try and do 20 different topics in one survey. Just try and get, narrow down on the information you need. Have you released a new product and you're looking to get feedback on that product? Have you recently changed or adapted your opening hours or your service hours and you want information on that specific topic? Keep it short, keep it narrow, and that way you don't get skewed results because people are answering too many different topics at once. When you send out your survey, try and get it to as many people as possible. Don't just stick to one category. So if you're saying it's a new product that you released, you obviously only want to speak to the people that have tried this new product. So you don't want every customer, but you want the ones that have used these new products. And then you need to try and have a decent sample size of people from different age brackets, different gender, different, depending on the thing, job type, what role they do, things like that. Now, once you've got this, it'll give you a broader picture that you can apply across other areas of the business as well. Now, when you're structuring your questions, the key thing is that you want them to be clear and concise. Now, obviously, if you want actionable insights on the back of this, you need it to be honest feedback. So the first thing to do is try to avoid leading questions, which is where you ask a question that frames it towards a positive response. You need to be completely, unbiased when you're asking these questions. They need to be clear. They can't push someone towards a certain response. When you also ask questions, they need to know what they're answering. Now, while you want short and concise questions, you need to be clear as well, because you can't leave ambiguity in there, because they might not be answering the right thing, or they might be answering a different part of this long paragraph that you've sent them. So you want to avoid things like double-barrel questions, Keep things simple, keep it clear, and if you do need to ask two questions, make them two separate questions on the survey. Don't try and save space and say, I only want 5 questions, but I've got 10 things I need to ask. Let's just cram them all in. You want to keep it as targeted as you can to the topic that you're looking to gain information about, but clear and concise so that they know exactly what they're answering and why. Another thing that people often seem to forget with these surveys is they'll send them out and they'll collect all these results, but they don't really give any feedback to the customer either. So if you're asking your customers every, say, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, whatever the time frame, for feedback on your service, but then they never hear anything back, they're going to be less inclined to actually give you feedback, because why do they care? If you're not going to action it, how do they know you've taken the advice on board? And this isn't a simple thank you for your submission, we've received your results or anything like that. You need to actually feed back to the people that are responding to your survey requests. If they take 5-10 minutes to fill out a survey and give you information, they should expect you to take the same amount of time to come back to them and say, thank you for giving us your thing. Can we get a bit more information? Or based on your information, these are the changes we're implementing. We'd love to get a follow-up and see if it's had a positive impact for you 3, 6, 9 months down the line. So that's just like creating it as more of a two-way thing rather than a one-way channel. And again, this is something that will vary depending on what exactly you're needing. So is it a general survey, or is it more specific to a specific action that you've taken? The more, as I say, the more concise you can be and the more targeted you can be, the more accurate you'll get results, and the more you'll be able to have those conversations. If you're being overly general and say trying to contact 99-100% of your customer base, and you're basically just saying, how good is our customer service on a scale of 1 to 10, it's useless, because they're not going to tell you what to improve. Whereas if you target individual points of your customer service journey, so how was your wait time when you tried to call us? Why did you choose to call us as opposed to using a web channel? Asking more questions that are targeted, because there's no point in a generic one. You need to be getting actionable insights so that you can improve things. Otherwise, it's pointless. It's just a survey for survey's sake, and no one needs that. You waste your customers' time and you waste your time as well. Now, when it comes to analysing the data, obviously I stated that when you send out your surveys, you want to have as broad a selection of people as possible. And you want to try and have them be a fair representation of your customer base. So if your customer base is 90% CEOs, then you want 90% of your data coming back, ideally to be from CEOs. And again, as you're doing this, you just want to try and have a look at it as a whole picture, but then also take granular looks at it. So perhaps something you've done recently has had really positive influences for men over 50, whereas women between the ages of 20 and 30 have seen it a completely different way. And you need to sort of understand how your changes are impacting these different people and what you can do to sort of bring these results together and make it so things work out and can move forward progressively. That doesn't mean that you need to sacrifice all of your gains to the one group, but you just need to look, why is it not work for this other group of people? And again, having a proper granular look at your survey response information, having these follow-up calls with your customers to get deeper insights if you need to, it's all going to be beneficial. Now, one of the other things worth considering is trying to capture people at the same time in their journey with you. So if we were contacting people about a recent product launch, say we released the product 6 months ago and we wanted to survey our users, you don't want to survey so many people that are like, say we're going to do male and female split. You don't want to contact all of your male customers that have had this product for 6 months and compare that with the respondents of all these female customers that have had the product for a week. They're not going to have the same experience, both from gender perspectives, age perspectives, but also their time with the product. So you need to try and keep it concise and targeted. So if you're contacting people about a product that was released 6 months ago, you want to make sure they've all had at least sort of 3-4 months worth of experience with the product. If they haven't, they're going to be giving you a completely different perspective because they won't have learned all the ins and outs, and you'll miss a lot of information because of that. So try and sort of break down the people you reach out to, or if you can't break down the respondents based on their experience. Because again, it's that thing, if you don't have the same experience as somebody else, your perspective is going to be completely different. But the longer you've had with a product, the more understanding you'll get used to the nuances. For example, a new customer with a CRM might be overwhelmed by all these millions of options, and it creates a bit of a negative experience to begin with. But somebody else might see that all these new options compared to where they came from previously is a great thing. But again, it's about the individual. And again, if you've had it for 6 months, you might know what all these bells and whistles do, so you know which ones to avoid, which ones you need, which ones to just clutter, what's a useful thing to them. And the only way you'll get that is by breaking up your data and going more granular with it. Now again, with surveys, I mentioned earlier on, you want to be going back to these customers and basically letting them know, I've received your feedback, I need more clarity on this, or it'd be great if we could get more clarity. But then also ask for consent to follow up with another survey. So once you said, this is the feedback we've received from our customers as a whole, you can even provide the data to them. There's no harm in that, sharing that you've seen and listened to what they've said, and then what your actions are off the back of it. But then also arrange to follow up with these people specifically and try and get them to opt in, so that they'll agree to complete a follow-up survey 6 months from now. And then you can marry the two results together. So 6 months ago, they weren't overly happy, but they were getting used to things. 6 months later, they know everything about the product. Things are becoming more natural, but now they've got more technical queries and things. So you need to be looking at that and following up with it, keeping those conversations open. As I mentioned earlier on, surveys are often seen as sort of a one-way communication. You just put in a list of questions out there for someone to answer and send it off, and there's no back and forth. So you need to keep that back and forth element alive as much as possible, but without overwhelming your customer. Again, you need to keep them engaging. And the funny thing is, people seem to assume that sending your customer a survey every 3 months might be too much. And if you're not doing anything on the back of these surveys, a survey every 3 months is going to annoy them. They're going to start ignoring them. But if they're doing a survey every 3 months and 1 month later they get, these are what the results are, these are the actions we're taking. A month after that they get, we've already been able to implement these changes now. This is what we're hoping will happen. And then a month later you're following up with them. It's an ongoing month-to-month conversation with your customer. And they won't mind engaging because they're seeing the positive outcomes on the back of this. So you need to make sure that you deliver on the results of the surveys. And if you don't deliver on those, you're missing a big opportunity to build that relationship up with your customers. And again, these people will champion your business, but if they think you're ignoring them or dismissing their perspective, it's not going to work out. Whereas if you really do take on board what they're saying, have those conversations and develop a plan moving forward, you're going to win champions for your business. And these people go out, they'll refer you, they'll tell all their friends, if you're looking for this particular product or service, these are the guys to go with because they're going to listen to you. They're going to shape their product around your needs, not just some random information that they've gathered through their own little brainstorming session. They've actually listened to their customers and they've built everything around us. And that's how you succeed. So, as I say, I hope this has been useful. There's so much more to go along with this topic. So I might end up doing another one on it in a couple of weeks' time or a couple of months once I've had time to, frame it a little bit better. But I hope it's been useful. I hope you've got some insights on it. If you've done any surveys recently and you're curious about how you can get the most out of them, please reach out. I'm happy to have a chat, see if we can help each other. So you have a good week now, and I shall see you next week. Cheers.